Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so thrilled to have on the show award-winning Canadian country music artist. He's had so many awards. Singer, songwriter, guitarist, Dahl Smith. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know what? This new album, which self-titled album, which is a good way to do it.
Yep.
Great songs on here.
Thank you.
I mean, you know, we got to talk about this. You had special guests on here, which also I saw them on the music videos.
Yep.
How did you pull that off?
You must be referring to Mackenzie Porter.
I would be referring to her.
Yeah. Well, I've known Mackenzie for probably well over a decade now, and I was friends with the guys at Big Loud and worked with some of the producers, and I saw her sound checking at one event we did together, and I just like grabbed a flag, and I'm like that. I waved the flag for her, and everybody agreed, and she's been on Big Loud for quite a while now. So yeah, it was exciting to actually, with me being on Big Loud now, being able to actually full circle and be able to do a song with her together, and well, she's a friend of mine. You
know what I noticed also though, Dallas, is how great your voices intertwine together.
Yeah.
You know, with the sound and everything, it seems natural.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, we've heard that a bit. It was just a matter of finding the right song to kind of catch the right range that we both want to sit in, and we've got to perform that song on some pretty cool places. So.
Well, you know, but besides that though, with this album, which you know, there's so many great tracks on here that I know our viewers and your fans are just digging into this album that came out this past year. But you had a few great songwriters and co-writers. I mean, you want me to list them off? I mean, you got Hardy, you got Ernest, you got Cole Swindell. It's like going. It's like a who's who of songwriters.
Yeah, Stephen Wilson Jr., Jaron Johnson, Morgan's got some stuff on there, and Jake Owen. Did I say Jake? Yeah, so there's some pretty big names on there, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, when I looked at the list, and then I'm listening to the songs, it's like going, that's pretty incredible to have that body of work in one album. And you and I were talking before we came in the studio too, Dallas, to where this is your first one with Big Loud Music, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah. I've been friends with those guys for quite a while, since the inception of that record label. Joey Moi, who produces most of the records that come out of there and is a co-owner of Big Loud. I was his first vocal take that made it to radio in Vancouver, British Columbia, where I'm from.
Right.
So Joey was just out of recording school, and we cut some demos. In a closet. And it won a radio station contest in Vancouver, like a Discover the Band sort of deal.
Oh my gosh.
And that got us our record deal, and we continued on, and Joey obviously continued on into what he's doing now.
Well, you know, I don't want to embarrass you, but I was kidding you when you came in my office earlier, to where you're kind of like the male version of Shania Twain with all of the hits and awards that you've won. And then in your native Canada.
And then I joked about my wallet not being as big, yeah.
But I mean, you kind of feel good about that. I mean, especially all the Entertainer of the Year awards too, Dallas.
Yeah.
You know, and you and I were talking too, and you know, what an incredible, fertile music scene in Canada. And you know, but particularly now with you, you know, bringing it to the U.S., doing U.S. tours. We're talking about all the festivals you're doing this year. It's got to make you feel good.
It is. It is a great thing. I did my first trip down to Nashville for writing in 2009, and watching how Canadian country radio has changed over the last 10 plus years.
Right.
There's a lot of talent there, but this just seems to be a bigger and bigger microscope. And give more opportunities given to Canadians and stuff. So it's really great to see that stuff bleed down from the border. And I mean, James Barker Band and Tenille Towns and just High Valley. And,
right.
Yeah, it's just a lot. There's a lot of great.
Well, and just like with your album, it's the quality of the music. I mean, to me, you do such a great job, particularly in this new album, of giving, referencing your influences in the music you're doing, but also keeping it new and modern, and with the crazy star, songwriters and everything involved. But I feel like I can hear your influences, but also it's fresh.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's I constantly want to be evolving and pushing the boundaries and not finding myself too comfortable into a sound. I like always expanding and experimenting with different types of songs and different types of production, and yeah.
Well, and once again, you brought up 2009 coming down here in Nashville. That was kind of when you decided to take the leap from being like hard rock, as the frontman and lead singer for the hit band Default, platinum award-winning band, and going, hey, maybe it's time for country.
Yeah, well, from the outside looking in, it was like quite a drastic move. But you know, it was kind of a slow process. I was, you know, Default. Our first song came out, "Wasting My Time," in 2001.
Right.
And that took us all over the world, and we toured a ton in the U.S. But as we kept releasing records up until through the mid 2000s. I was finding myself in the back of the bus warming up for the shows, warming up to like the Keith Urban records and Dirks when he first came out, and I really liked the Rascal Flatts stuff, just like the really challenging vocal. So just my country influence that my mom had on me growing up, that I didn't think was as cool when, you know, Alice in Chains and those bands that I was really into in the early 90s, that influence really started coming back in, and it really all appealed to me. So. For about 2007 to 2009, Joey Moi, him and I would be at parties and we would talk about our mutual love for what was going on at country radio and these artists and how great it is. And so we talked about going down for a few years. And then I was on tour with my old band. We were opening up for 3 Days Grace across Canada. Of course, you know, every kid dreams of being in those opportunities, right? You're playing in front of sold out crowds. Right. It's just, it's a rock kid's dream. And I found myself near the end of that tour. I was in Montreal, and it just didn't, what I was doing, that passion just wasn't there anymore. And the music business obviously will just kick your butt up and down. And so if you're not 100% passionate about it, it's time to evolve. It's time to make a change. So I sent a message to Joey in the back of the bus. I just said country record, ? And then 3 weeks later, we were down in Nashville writing with Craig Wiseman and Rodney Clawson and Chris Tompkins, all the guys in Big Loud,
But what a bold move also. I mean, and bravo to you on it, Dallas, to where you've got an incredible career doing rock, but creatively and musically, you felt you needed to make a shift, and obviously a very smart shift. You know?
Yeah, it happened very naturally. You know, the band at the time, we had gone through some label troubles, and the last record that we had released didn't do as well as we were hoping. So it was kind of like my last little, okay, I'm going to do something that I'm really, really passionate about for myself.
Right.
And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it'll be time to shift and do something else. So luckily, Canadian radio got behind me with my first single, Somebody Somewhere. And then once that first record started getting a lot of eyeballs on it, I was like, okay, you know, you follow your passion and you hope that fans will come to it, and it was happening. So.
And they obviously have. Well, and you brought up your mom. I was going to bring her up also, to where, you know, she was like a professional choir singer.
Yeah.
Your dad was a guitar player.
Yeah.
So it's like you really couldn't get away from music then.
It was around a lot as a kid, especially more from my mom. I remember being really young and listening to my dad play just in his bedroom. He was a little bit more quiet about it, but my mom, yeah, she would be doing her scales and her runs and stuff, and rehearsing her parts in the choir and asking me, "Is like, does that sound okay? Am I sharp? Am I flat or whatever?" So it was always around. I was always involved in it. But I was a really shy kid, so like everybody sings when they're little, and then you know. And you start paying attention to people might judge you, you know. So I didn't sing for a long time in front of people. I just did it as like an escape after school. I'd play my favorite records, play some video games, and sing along to it. And then so I sang for the first time. I got drunk on a Friday night with a bunch of friends who ended up being in Default, and I sang "Plush" by Stone Temple Pilots. Oh, yeah. And then a year later, we had a record deal in the U.S.
At 21.
Yeah, and then a year after that, we had a platinum record down here in the States. So I went from like music's all around, but I was really quiet about it, to like opening my mouth, and then had a platinum record a couple of years after that. So it was really, it was a crazy time, man.
Yeah, but I was thinking about this too, because you know, going over everything, watching your videos, watching your live performance videos and your music videos, you don't seem shy in those. I mean, really. I mean.
Yeah. It was a work in progress. Yeah. It was a really fun, really challenging, scary time. I mean, we were playing on, you know, TV shows and stuff. And
but also, you know, Dallas, it seems like it comes from your heart. You know what I mean? It seems like, you know, all of your performances, you know, with Default and also with your solo career now that's doing so great, it seems honest.
Yeah, well, that was my thing. My connection with music as a kid was a very emotional connection. Like, it was a real thing, and that I really think that's carried over into what I want other people to connect to with my music, and it has to have that emotional connection with me, and yeah. So
and you have to feed a 19-year-old.
What's that?
And you have to feed a 19-year-old.
I have to feed a 19-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
So you're saying there's a big tour this year?
Yeah, I'll be touring for a while. Yeah, I won't be hanging them up for a bit.
I kind of live in that dream. I understand with a 17-year-old. So, we were talking before we came in studio. Dallas Smith does not seem like a Canadian name.
I get that all the time. It's like, that's not your real name, is it? I'm like, no, I'm telling you, I'm a Canadian named Dallas, and named after a hockey player.
Ah, okay. Okay.
I told you it was like for a Canadian reason.
Because it was not in the notes or anywhere, and I'm like, I'm driving in before we do the interview. I'm like going, Dallas. It's like going, I know that's his real name, but is there a Dallas in Canada? I'm like going,
yeah, man. It was Dallas Smith was Bobby Orr's defensive partner, way back in the day. And my mom's dad, her maiden name is Dalrymple, so his nickname was Dahl. So they kind of put the two together, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
But what a great country name.
That's why people say it's not your real name, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's made up. It's like, no, I guess I was kind of destined to be in country music.
I think so.
Yeah.
And obviously with your voice and the songs you choose, we got to talk a little bit about gear, because I know you're getting a custom-made amplifier coming in that you're going to be using out on the road.
Yeah, well, that's sort of like, I'm in a big Deftones fix, so they got a Rev amp coming for me, nice 10th anniversary. I got a buddy who works for them, who's guitar techs for me, so I get the hookup, I think, when I get back, so.
I told you, I saw him at the NAMM show, and it's like, what incredible amplifiers. And we were talking a little bit about the gear, to where, you've got a pristine Maton that has not a scratch on it that you love to play.
Not a scratch, except for the I got it in Australia. We were part of those, the rock festivals in the big soccer stadiums. And I picked up this Maton, and I love this guitar, and I brought it home. My son never really picked up guitars, but the only time he ever touched it is, 3 years old, he had a ballpoint marker, and he just gouged that thing right down the face of it, and I've kept it the same ever since. It's got a lot of sentimental value.
It is now. Yeah. I mean, for songwriting and touring, we're talking about, electric-wise, obviously you got your Fender Telecaster, but you're also in search of a vintage Gibson SG.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some running around here after we're done and go see if I can pick something up. I think it'll match up with that Rev amp real well.
I think so. We've got a couple of guitar shops here.
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah,
Nashville's got a few.
I think you're gonna like them.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to ask you this about the Dallas Smith album, your self-titled album. Listening to this whole thing, and there's so many tracks that I love, like 1, 2, and Fixer Upper. A lot of songs I can relate to. I mean, It seems like, really coming from your heart on these. Is it going to be on vinyl?
It has to be. All my other records are on vinyl.
Right.
I love playing vinyl. We were talking about this, like just rebuying all my favorite records as a kid and up till now on vinyl, and got myself a nice stereo. And my wife's not loving it. Because we have different tastes of music when we were younger.
Right.
But yeah, I'm loving just digging back into that. It's much better than just hopping on your phone and listening to it in headphones.
Right.
I mean,
and I think with the music, with the guitar work, with the entire band, on this album, I think it's worthy of vinyl, and I think your fans are going to want it also.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's going to happen for sure.
And you're going to have some cool merch this year also with the big festival tour.
We'll be doing that.
Go all over North America.
Yeah, we're doing Country Thunder, Florida, Arizona, and then some other ones popping up. So we'll be around a little bit. I
just got a feeling that the more that the U.S. audiences see and hear you, they're just going to embrace you fully, particularly with this album.
I really hope so.
This one seems like, this seems like the turning point one for you in the U.S.
I hope so. I'm working with a great team. So
I'll tell you
some eyeballs on it.
I want to make sure, Dallas, also for our viewers, with your website, with social media, everything that you're doing, where do our viewers need to go?
At Dallas Smith is pretty much for most of the stuff, all the socials, and I think the website is DallasSmithMusic.com. There you go.
Look at that.
That's where everything will be.
And it's not a fictitious name.
No, it's not.
It's your real
name. I'll show you my driver's license right now.
After a hockey player.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
It's very Canadian of me.
And that's why you fit in so well in Nashville, too. Like we were talking, it's like going, everybody's just as friendly in Nashville as they are up in Canada.
Yeah,
in British Columbia.
There's not a lot of excuse me, but there's a lot of sorries. I'm feeling quite at home down here lately.
Well, you are at home, and you're welcome here. Be sure and check out the new album, however you consume music, whether you do it digitally, CD, vinyl will be coming, I hope. Dallas Smith, it's a great album, so many awesome songs. He's got music videos, big tour. I recommend you go see him live, and you're going to enjoy it. And I look forward to seeing you live too.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of a Bobby Bones Show.